Weddin Shire Council would like to acknowledge the Wiradjuri people who are the traditional custodians of the land. Weddin Shire Council would also like to pay our respects to the elders, both past and present, of the Wiradjuri Nation, and extend that respect to other Aboriginal Australians who are present or watching. Weddin Shire Council would like to honour our service personnel who have sacrificed their lives in the defence of freedom, peace and prosperity. We acknowledge all of our frontline workers and volunteers who each day provide our essential and our non-essential services, especially those within our Weddin Shire local government area. Thank you. I'll just ask the General Manager for any attendances. We've got, I think we don't have any applications for leave or notification they won't be here today, so we're expecting two other councillors.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. No apologies received.
Yep, no apologies. No leave of absence for applications. Right, very good. On that note, I just want to mention we've got in the audience today, we've got John Batchelor, who's our Acting Director of Corporate Services. He won't be up here today because his car was actually acting during the role during the last month sort of thing. So, but welcome, John, and welcome to the Weddin Shire Council. And yeah, that's all right. Hope you can help us out for the next few months. All right, very good. Next we move on to 5, which is the confirmation of the previous minutes. The recommendation that the minutes of the Ordinary Council meeting held on the 16th of April be taken as read and confirmed. We have a move and a second of councillors. Moved by Councillor Macon, second by Councillor Neal. Thank you very much. All those in favour of those minutes being taken as read and confirmed? Thank you, councillors. All those against? So moved. Thank you. Oh, Councillor Rolls has entered the building. Thank you. Welcome, councillor. We're up to disclosures of interest, councillor. We're up to section 6. I'll ask the General Manager if there's any disclosures of interest on the meeting tonight.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. No disclosures of interest received.
Thank you. There's no reports from the Mayor or all at the moment. Next we move on to 8, which is motions or question with notice. We are going back to one that was previously done, which was the pop-up shops brought by Councillor Gorman, who's not here. In the hallway? Right. So this recommendation is that Council ensure pop-up shops are considered during the relevant development of the Economic Development Plan 2026-27, and 2, that Resolution 112-25 be considered completed and removed from the resolution register. Do I have a move and a second, councillors? Councillor Macon moved, and once again second by Councillor Neal. Thank you very much. I'll ask the General Manager going to present this report, or?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'll refer that through
the DCS. Councillor Gorman's here. Hello, Councillor Gorman. How are you?
How are you? Sorry, very much sorry.
That's all right. We're actually up to. I'll just wait for a second while you catch up. We're up to 8, which was the motions or question with notice, which was on the previous recommendation about the pop-up shops.
Yep.
So just this car is going to present. The acting DCS is just going to present this one to us. Thank you.
Mr Mayor, the wonderful idea of pop-up shops is certainly something that could contribute vibrancy to Grenfell's Main Street. There's been some research done in recent months over the viability of how we would implement that in Grenfell, and the recommendation is there that we address it through the development of an economic development plan where a more holistic approach can be taken to implementing vibrancy actions to address some of the challenges we're seeing in the main street.
Any questions or comments, councillors? This one, Councillor Dawson.
I'd just say I'm very pleased to hear that, and I was very pleased to read that this afternoon, and I will pass that on to my contact at Forbes and give you some information they've given me, and you may proceed as you hopefully can. Thank you.
Any other comments, councillors? No? Very good. In that case, if there's no more on that one, we'll put that one to the vote. All those in favour of those recommendations, councillors, raise your hand. All those against, thank you, councillors, and thank you for that input on that one. Next, 8.2, which is again a question with notice, CCTV policy. Question that came up on that was from the last council meeting, wasn't it? Yeah, from the council, last question. The CCV policy that we are adopting, where did it originate? Through local government, or do we share ideas and base it upon another council? The recommendation is a response regarding the question, the CTV policy raised by Councillor Gorman, we received and noted. A move and a seconder. That one, moved by Councillor Gorman, thank you. Seconded by Councillor Neal, thank you very much. I think there's a response there. I think there's the General Manager or who's speaking on that one.
I can, thank you, Mr. Mayor, I can respond to it.
If you can respond to it if you like, or not.
Fairly
Pretty well
explanatory in the actual report. There's no Office of Local Government guidelines that it's
Yep.
However, it is subject to the Privacy Act and Australian privacy principles, which are federal legislation, but still applicable to New South Wales. And as the council's aware, we've split apart policies and the CCTV and the workplace surveillance, and the workplace surveillance policy will be going to the 18th of June Consultative Committee meeting.
Any questions on that one, Councillor? It's pretty well thoroughly answered. Thank you very much. All those in favour of that recommendation, please, councillors. Thank you. All those against, thank you, councillors. Good. Next we move on to 9, which is the General Manager's report. Recommendation is the council notes the updates on the outstanding actions register from the resolutions register as of the 13th of May 2026. We have a move and a seconder. Yep, moved by Councillor Parlett, second by Councillor Rolls. Thank you very much. Ask the General Manager, I suppose, if there's any questions on any of these resolutions. I think one thing to note is which came up is the resolution register is not legislated. I can't find anywhere that it's legislated. It's just an internal council document the council puts together. So there's no actual legislation. And if the minutes of the meetings are the true and accurate record of those meetings. So this is just a resolution put together, like a register put together to make it easier for council to actually monitor the resolution. That's all. So, any questions on any of those items on that action on that resolution register, councillors? No. One of the updates there. No, good. On that, everyone's happy with those. We'll put that one to the vote then. All those in favour of those updates? Councillors, thank you. Anyone against? Thank you, councillors. Yep, next we move on to 10, the Corporate Services Report, Integrated Planning and Reporting, Draft Operational Plan. We have a recommendation here that Council A1 endorses the attached draft operational plan 2026-27, same one everyone's councillors on your desk, including the draft fees and charges schedule 26-27, which is Appendix A of the attached draft operational plan 2026-27, and including the draft budget 26-27, which is Appendix B of the attached draft of operational plan for public exhibition for a period of 28 days. 2, that Council receives a further report in relation to the draft operational plan 2026-27, draft fees and charges schedule 2026-27, and draft budget 2026-27 following the conclusion of the public exhibition period. I have a mover for those ones, Councillor. Yeah, Councillor Gorman, thank you. Moved and seconded by Councillor Ryle. Thank you very much. I'll ask our Acting Director of Corporate Services to present this one. I would suggest, councillors, that once the Acting Director presents this one, that we can possibly move into, to make it easy for us to discuss it, move into a committee of the whole to discuss the matter, and so I'll just ask that probably once the Director presents it. Acting Director, sorry. Thank you.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, it's a legislative requirement for councils in New South Wales to develop a draft operational plan that's placed on 28 days public exhibition prior to being adopted by the 30th of June each year. An operational plan is council's commitment to the community of what will be delivered in the 27 financial year and how. The operational plan must contain several essential components. These are annual projects, programs or actions to support the delivery program. We must assign responsibilities for each of the projects to a department, we must identify service reviews to be undertaken during the year. We must identify measures to help determine effectiveness of the projects. We need a detailed budget of the actions to be undertaken in the year. We need a statement of revenue policy, a statement of the amount of any proposed borrowings, and a map showing those parts of the local government area to which the various rates will apply. There's strong alignment between the Community Strategic Plan and the Operational Plan, showing a strong commitment to deliver for the community in financial year 27 across the 5 themes of people, economy, infrastructure, environment and leadership identified by the community in the CSP and committed to by Council in the delivery program. KPIs have been developed for all actions to help improve transparency in how Council reports its progress during the financial year. The Roads and Capital Program, included as an appendix to the operational plan, outlines the grant-funded works that will be delivered during 27. For transparency, I'll point out that the draft operational plan in the business paper is an earlier version than what councils have received tonight, and the differences are on page 31, where the additional 2 KPIs have been added to the strategy 3.4, strengthen our strategic approach to the management of our water, sewerage and urban drainage infrastructure. On page 45, evaluation date has been corrected from 1 July 26 to 1 July 24. On page 50, we've added a table showing borrowings for the refinancing of a pool loan and a purchase of 4 items of plant. On page 58 and 59, the budget by program has also been updated. And in the Appendix A, we have 2 additional pieces of data updated to confirm the 9.5 interest rate on arrears and an updated fee for Section 603 certificates. And it will be this revised version of the operational plan that will be placed on public exhibition. The service reviews identified for this coming financial year are the workforce management, the aquatic centres and biosecurity, and a roads service review that has already commenced this month will be finalised as well. Some points of interest from the revenue policy. IPART, the Independent Pricing and Regulatory Tribunal of New South Wales, has imposed a rate peg of 4.2 on rate increases for FY27. This affects the general component of all rates categories. Additionally, all sewer rates and charges have increased by 10% as a result of the operational and capital expenditures associated with the service. Although a council built a new sewage treatment plant in 22, the underground infrastructure supplying the sewage treatment plant is aged and requires significant investment. In this schedule of fees and charges, a number of statutory fees are still unknown but will be confirmed by the relevant state agencies closer to the end of financial year. There are a number of material changes of 10% or more to fees and charges addressed in the business paper. A couple of examples are the advertising structures on footpaths, such as signs and tables and chairs. This fee has increased from $36.50 to $50, and some construction certificate fees have increased as well. For minor structures such as a fence, for example, the fee has increased from $110 to $250. There's also a new fee created for school sessions at the swimming pool. This is a new fee added to the policy in recognition that the Cowra Aquatic Centre will be closed for refurbishment during the 27 financial year, and Cowra School's swimming carnivals will now be held in Weddin. So this is an acknowledgement of our broader community responsibilities in our region, not just beyond our LGA. So the new fee is set at $4 per person, which is in line with the standard gate entry for a child. A new mower has also been added to the plant items available for public works within town limits, noting this point had an error in the business paper. And some fees have actually been reduced to nil as a result of the transition to the regional library service through Central West Libraries. So interlibrary loans, lost library cards, membership for non-New South Wales residents, overdue notices, reservations and replacement of lost stocks are now offered at no cost to residents. Council invites the community to review the draft operational plan during its period of public exhibition.
very much. Thank you. Now, I think it's prudent that we actually move into committee of the whole. I'd like to move that. We have a second. We move into committee of the whole. Yeah, thank you. Second by Councillor Rolls. All those in favour that we move into committee of the whole? Thank you, councillors. All those against? That's it. I'll just ask, if we are in committee of the whole, it's a little bit easier to have a discussion about this. The only thing is, I'll still ask you if you've got any questions for the directors or anyone to still address them through me, because obviously, as I said, as Car's only in the acting in this role at the present time, and probably it's best that some of the questions could be better directed to other staff, or maybe the general manager could field some of those questions. That's all. So, very good. Thank you very much. Once again, thanks to the staff. I'll start off just sort of thanking the staff for this. It's a lot of work to come together, especially at the same time as we're dealing with other budgetary issues as well. So I think we do the financial stuff as well from previously, and to put this together is a lot of work, and we didn't have. Thank you for stepping up to that role. We didn't have someone in that position. But I think it comes down to, is there any questions, councils? I said I think it's something we need to discuss. So is there anything anyone would like to start this off? No? Yeah, Councillor Gorman?
I was very interested to hear and to read it earlier today, the changes in terms of the library. There's still an element of members of our community who aren't sure why we actually transferred to the Central West Library, and some of them don't feel that they are seeing advantages from it, particularly at the moment when our librarian, Glenda, has been sent to work at Forbes because they're in dire need of a experienced librarian. And I just wondered if it was possible to just reinforce the benefits for us as a shire and for the members of our community, so that those people who are still reserved in their judgment as to have we done the right thing, it would just give them some more information, please.
I think the same thing. I think that's probably better.
In one go.
Sorry?
Too much in one go.
No. I think it's a fairly involved response. If you want to go back to why we did it, and I think it's probably putting the staff on the spot at the moment. So I'd say that probably as we can do this as a question with notice, deal with that in the following next month. It's probably the best way to deal with that. It's a bit of an involved.
Oh, I know. I thought that our corporate director might be able to have done a better job than what I try to do when I speak to them out there.
Yeah, no worries. Anyone else? Quick councillors? No? Yeah, Councillor White.
Can I just ask, so this over the next few years, over $10 million, we're sort of looking at wanting to achieve these things that look like big ticket items. Mm-hmm. My question is, has wages and all that been taken into consideration in this? Because I truly feel that this is not achievable. It's going to put us right in the red. And truly, where is the money coming from? Like, we rely a lot on grant funding and so forth. So with this not being really achievable, how do we expect to reach the goals of this new budget?
I suppose the question is, what don't you feel, Councillor White, is achievable in it?
Just a lot of it. There's because we rely on a lot of funding to get a lot of these things done. Now, if we don't get those funding done, we're promising the community that we're going to do this and that. How are we going to achieve it? My only thing is, the only way we could possibly achieve some more of these things is to bring in a special rate variance.
Yeah, thank you. I suppose I can answer that in that the budget is what we're expecting to achieve in that, and that's why it's a deficit. That's why it is that $10.1 million deficit, which is the biggest concern for me. That's a really big figure.
Yeah.
Out of that, we totally agree that there's $7.8 million of that is a non-cash component, which is the depreciation on our assets. But that also means that because we are not funding that means we're not putting that money aside to replace those assets in the future. So that's my biggest concern. I totally agree that we're not putting that money away, but we don't have that ability. I think it's, as you can see, it goes through there pretty similar. You can see how much we actually make on rates and charges.
Yes.
Out of a $30 million budget, we actually only make, I think, what's the figure? 5.3 million all up. So a $30 million budget, and $5.3 million of that is rates and charges. So we do rely very heavily upon grants, and I think I can speak that during next year we still have a works program of $8.38 million on the road. So we still have that, but that is already funded. That's all grant funded that we will definitely receive. So we'll still get about $8 million worth of works on our roads on the next 12 months. So that is good. But yes, there are components of it which we said that we would definitely like some more money to do it. But I think I suppose I can ask. There's a couple of things in there, I suppose, which I might ask the. Ready? Yes, I can ask the actual general manager to speak on a couple of the other grants. That's okay.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Councillor White, for your query. In regards to the grants that are in there are the known grants. So if it's a grant where we have to apply for it and there's no guarantee that we're going to get it, it's not shown in there. However, the caveat on that is the financial assistance grant is working on the assumption that the advance payments continue, which has been the history for a while, but that will be a concern right across the local government sector if the federal government turns around and says councils are not getting their advance payment next year. But generally, they're the recurrent grants that council receives without having to compete for them. And the potential on your desk also, you've got a list of potential services to consider to address some of that financial sustainability challenge.
I'm probably going to get to that. So I suppose after we had our strategic session regarding the budget, I spoke to the general manager and said, can he look for any savings within the budget? And that was, so he's put a bit of a chart together to see whether we and that's up to council to make those decisions of whether or not we want to implement those changes and try and make those savings that we possibly can. Yeah, Councillor Parlett?
I have to agree with Councillor White's concerns. This is the most concerning budget I have seen in my 4 terms of office. So I think that we really need to be very proactive in addressing these issues and looking at what we can do. I have to say, fags is an issue that we need to be pushing more because our fags allowance and the fags grants, we talk about this forever, and it's been going on ever since we've been here as councillors, the Mayor and I, where we do not get that increase in percentage. And I know that the JO, everyone is pushing for this, but I think it has to come from the people now. People power speaking up and saying, well, the government is pushing all these extra things. The government, we are now doing all the government's job with a lot of these things. So I think we really need to get our community understanding that a rate rise, yes, whilst that might cover some things, it is not going to cover what the shortfall of what our projected costing is over the next 10 years. We are, and this is a great little shire, a great community, so I think we need to be really very proactive with this one, and we, proactive with our MPS, need to get behind looking at this sort of issue where the government is pushing a lot more onto small. We're only a small council. City councils, this isn't going to affect. We need to be really driving home that message. We need support.
Oh, General Manager, you wanted to...
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Parlett. Correct. Financial assistance grant. Australian Local Government Association recommended that it was 1% of Commonwealth taxation revenue back in 1996. It has not been at that level since that point, so now 30 years. And in fact, in the recent federal budget, delivered, it's dropped from 0.51% to 0.49%. So you're correct. It's a big part of that solution of financial sustainability.
Yeah, for us, it would make a huge difference.
Absolutely. It's a major source of income in the budget.
Yeah. It's the most important thing. I said this is probably we've been pushing this for years, and it was just so disappointing for the federal government to announce there was no. We were sort of hoping, everyone was hoping that they might have seen the issues and listened to their own Auditor General said councils are going to struggle if they don't increase the FAG program. So don't seem to be listening. From all the reports, all the research is done into it, we don't seem to be getting anywhere. So it's a major issue. Sorry, Councillor McGowan, speak.
Through you, Mr Mayor, what does the deficit mean? Not the big deficit with the paper figure in it, but the smaller deficit of 2.1 million. What's that going to represent to us as council?
Council, it's a little bit smaller than that, isn't it? Because there's a couple. I thought the general manager might have. There was a couple of issues where some payments were made in a previous year and they're only actually being reported in this year.
Yeah.
So I think the bigger
But
mean.
when we did the budget, it was around about 2 million.
Yeah, so I think
as actually our deficit. So how do we manage that 2 million deficit? That's what I'm asking.
Yes, yeah, and that's where we've got to look for every single saving we can. I know that staff does that all through the year. This is only a projected budget, and all through the year, staff look for where they can save money, where they can't spend money, and this is what we're here today. If any of the council has got suggestions in where in that budget we can make improvements. This is now the time. That's why we're sitting here to try and make those decisions. I mean, you've got to look at some of your really big ticket items. I think, like I said, we can't get rid of our emergency service levy, $390,000 we spend on that. Swimming pool's actually costing us $583,000. Some of that's loan repayments, but that's the cost. We can't actually sell the swimming pools. We're spending $498,000 on parks and gardens. What do you do? We reduce the amount of time we're spending on parks and gardens, reduce our mowing, reduce our those costs there. How can we cut them back? Cemeteries, $180,000. I said $686,000 on insurance. That's our cost of insurance.
Yeah.
How do we reduce that? We've done previous research into it, and I think Lachlan Gibson was at DCS here for a while, and Lachlan went through a bit of work on it, and I think we came back that statewide mutual is still the best that we deal with, is the best value for money that council gets. But realistically, the only way you can reduce what you have to insurance is reduce the amount you insure. So that means you have to get rid of assets and sell things to reduce that cost. There's no other alternative. Like I said, toilet blocks, $158,000 a year just to maintain the toilet blocks. Do we close toilet blocks and not maintain them? I mean, I think there are. Like I said, so that's why the general manager has gone through this and sort of picked a few items out that we can perhaps look at. And as I said, sitting here tonight, and I think we should go through them and look at them. But yeah, like I said, we're all open to any suggestions of how we can make this budget better.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I think on Councillor White's point that promising this draft operational plan, we need to give the community something that we are trying to improve services. We're not leaving things by the wayside, because it would be quite easy to remove a lot of things at the detriment of our community suffering as well. We want to increase tourism. All of these things that are in our draft operational plan feed into tourism. We want our parks and gardens to look nice. We want the roads to be good. We want all of these things to be incredible for our community of residents, but also people visiting. And when looking through these lists of probable savings, which an adjustment total of $820,000, a lot of these things are come at a risk of, it could be a lot more if we don't have them. So it's a double-edged sword, whichever way we look at it, where, yes, it is a $10 million deficit on paper, but if we start removing things, are we going to be losing more than that in 10 years' time if we don't offer the services? If we go, sorry, the pool's costing us $500,000 a year to run, we lose the pool, there goes the swimming club, there goes the community, there goes all these things that are going to go, population moves away, health services, there's not going to be a new doctor to come to town because there's nothing to look forward to.
Yep.
There's employment opportunity where a lot of people want to move to Grenfell. We have nurses wanting to move to Grenfell. We have teachers wanting to move to Grenfell. We have all the people coming for council to live and work here. We start taking a shortcutting corners and all of these things to save a few dollars. It's going to come to a higher cost in 10 years' time, where I think especially the community need to realise that regional councils are going to the cost shifting analysis, which we looked into a while ago, where funding is going to become harder to get because money is getting tighter for everybody, including the government. So in the draft operational plan for the 2027 budget, there's zero capital grants allocated in that because we can't guarantee them, obviously. But realistically, we're not going to get all of them anyway. So all these grants become really competitive to where in the business paper as well, we were unsuccessful in the club grants application for the new lights at Lawson Park. All of these things are going to become harder to get. Therefore, we have to maintain what we have and improve where we can instead of relying on them. Yes, it might not be super sustainable, but it's better than the alternative of leaving things to go down the drain in terms of if we don't maintain our sewer network, pun not intended, but it's one of those things where people look at the big number and go, $10 million deficit, there wouldn't be many regional councils that would not be in equal or more than same position, where we don't have the luxury of paid parking, we don't have the luxury of massive pools of money that we can draw from. Our rate base is so small, even with an SRV, it's not even going to cover our wages for the next 10 years of, I think it's 36%. This general increase over the next 10 years. That's an extra $5 million on top of the next year. So even an SRV is not going to save $5 million. So I think realistically, yes, we need to be, we need to be prudent in how we spend, but we can't be so conservative that we leave stuff to be detrimental to council in 10 years' time, 20 years' time.
But it comes back to the fact, where do we get the money to cover the deficit?
Yes,
That's what my question
Yeah.
is.
So
Where does that come from?
I
It doesn't
feel
matter whether it's $1 million, 10 million, or whatever.
Yeah.
Where does that money come from?
I feel that, in my opinion, and I'm not an expert by any stretch of the imagination, but we need to look at more avenues of income if we need to dip into our term deposits to sort of go, okay, we need to establish more aged care facilities or senior citizens residents, or if we need to dip into something to generate more tourism, or because if we don't find more source of income, it's just this circular motion every year that we're not increasing in our income, but our expenditure is increasing. So if we've got this unlevel balance of unachievable balance where we go, okay, we're still on the same level playing field as income. Our rates are still going up by the pegs that they're supposed to. We're still having the same amount of income, plan income, whatsoever it is. But the CPIs and the increase in costs across the board, and obviously the current climate is attributing to that. But we need to find alternative income streams to outweigh that $2 million deficit, where it could be a range of, if people in the community have ideas, 100%. But we need to start broadening our scope for income as a business model of council instead of, if we keep doing things by the same run of the mill, 10 years' time it's not going to look any different.
I agree. We've got to be looking at opportunities, thinking differently. We've got to be looking at, where can we create income streams, which is very difficult for us because we haven't thought that way ever. It's all new, but we do need to look at how do we survive long term. And as I said earlier, proactively, but I agree, we've got to keep putting those services there so we can, attract people and develop aged care services, because that is a business opportunity that then brings more people, more service providers, more people coming to be, and develop things in our area.
Yeah.
How do we get someone and attract a developer to open up parcels of land? We've still got to have our service provision for them to be attracted to come here. we're not just delivering for our community, but we need to be attractive as well. So I think it's really important.
And we have to maintain our core purpose as
Services.
council. We can't lose the sight of that at any time.
It's our job.
Yeah. So therefore, it does constrict you in what you can do.
Yeah. But John, John Manager might just answer Councillor Montgomery's question about what happens. That was all with money. Basically, it's like any household budget. I'm sure it comes from savings. That's what happens.
Sure. Thank you, Mr.
Yeah.
Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Montgomery. So that $2 million that you're talking about will come out of the unrestricted cash, which will really put us balancing a fine line.
Right.
Just one caveat on that budget result by program. There's some work that we still need to do in the RMCC budget programs, and that'll be adjusted over the exhibition period.
Well, so we do have some cash. I would understand that there's a overdraft facility too, but that would only send us, further backwards. But we do have an overdraft facility.
The overdraft facility was only put in place to make sure we didn't do any cash breaches. So if we hadn't received our grant funding back in before
Like our flags grant, when it comes in, we need it,
It was there
before the end of the year.
it was there put
That's
in
right.
place as a buffer.
Yeah.
So a buffer, so we could actually draw upon that to make sure we didn't breach our cash reserves during that crossover. It's not something I'd suggest that we should be looking at using. It was only there as a complete there.
But we may have to use that if we have a plant situation where, we can't do our work, our roadworks or something that's really critical. We have to be thinking very seriously about how we, replace paint if we get into trouble.
I think, the obvious one we can all talk about is our wages bill. It's a massive component of what we've got, but it's a difficult thing. You can sit there and you say to yourself, well, okay, well, what area of the business don't we need employees for anymore? Because what you're talking about is service provision. You can't get rid of a road crew because we won't have anyone to do the roads. You can't get rid of the parks and gardens people because no one will fix all the parks and keep all the cemeteries clean and lots of stuff. So, there's no really, as I think Councillor Roll said the other day, there's no real fat in the organisation that we can trim back. We've done that for 20 years. We've continually trimmed off the top, but wages have grown, and that wage bill includes all the super, all the entitlements and everything else, and that's where it's got to a big proportion of our budget. Councillor Pallett? Yeah.
With the wages, I had questioned that way back, and at one stage there was a projection of 60%, so I'm really pleased to see it's only 38, which is more realistic, or 39. Can't recall exact figure, but it was around that mark. And I do want to thank that the work that's gone into this to give us an honest, clear overview so that we as councillors can address and look at this realistically, because we haven't been able to see this clearly before. And I'm very grateful that it has been presented to us honestly so we can actually deal with things effectively or more effectively and make good informed decisions. Thank you.
Yeah, and we can't sugarcoat it. There's other issues that I think there's some issues with things like the Regional Emergency Road Repair Fund. We've received $4.7 million over the last 4 years or 5 years? 4 years? I think it is. Is it 4? I think it's 4 years. But there's no guarantee we'll get that. We're at the last year of it. We've got $1.2 million that we're going to spend in this year. There's no guarantee that's going to be put back in a program again, and we'll have that the following year. Yeah. So we might have 8.2 to spend on the roads this year, but next year if that's gone, we're back down again. And then if you don't have any money to spend on your roads, well, there's no work for your roads crew to do because the gravel, the bitumen, all the stuff costs money to do that. So that's the issue. We've got to look up and maintain our assets. That's what and our biggest assets is roads. That's how we're a roads council. We always have been. Our biggest asset is roads. Councillor Gong?
I do agree that roads is one of our big priorities and also a huge expense. You know how we, with the quarry and the tips, and we can take, 30 tonnes out each year? Is it 12 months? And in the last couple of years, we started charging the gravel, etc., that we require for the repair of the roads. We charge that to Transport New South Wales. Well, that rate was set about 2 years ago. Is it possible to maybe increase it a little bit in the reality of the way the economy is, so that Transport New South Wales may pay us more?
Yeah. I'm sure that's something that, if it was possible, the staff would on charge all their things at the highest possible rate. I'll ask the director if he wishes to speak on that. Or
yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Councillor. So we do review all of our costs like every year, each year. Also, I think if you're talking about the RMCC contract, particularly, there are restrictions about what we can charge, and well, we can't actually turn a profit on that. It's not part of the arrangement. So, but we do make every effort to make sure that we're covering all of our costs, and we always do. So, as far as you are quite correct, there are limitations on how much gravel can be sourced out of the quarry, and we do use that as a cost against the works that we do. So we're not absorbing that. It's a legitimate part of doing the work, along with labour and all the other resources that we use.
My understanding was that when we upped the charge, we didn't up it at the upper limit. We upped it a significant amount for us. But when you consider we could have been doing that for years and gradually acquired a little bit of a income source that would support us in the future, if we haven't upped it to the lot, is it possible to up it a little bit anyway?
It's not to, so we can't make a profit on those, and I'll say the general manager may correct me if I'm wrong here, but when we're charging that, say, gravel against the project, because these are fully grant-funded projects, where that's what's funding the project, and we're charging against that.
Yeah.
So our charges, if we were to charge more for anything, particularly like put a big excess on top, that actually means that we actually do less roadworks.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's how it's on. It's not like we're a road company and charging out and getting outsourcing to other clients.
Yep.
To turn a profit. We can't do that.
Extra money from the same way.
Yes, so that's right. So it is a balancing act, and it's how we try to fund our plant as well. We try and put as much as we can so that we've got a fund for more plant, but we also do have to be very mindful about we're trying to maximise what we're actually delivering to the community as well. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
I'll just talk to thank you, Director of Engineering Services. The quarries, the gravel extraction, the income from that, the net result goes back into the internally restricted gravel reserves, and that's put aside for remediation of those reserves in future, like we do with landfill.
Yeah.
And actually, another good point in that regard, in regards to financial reserves, you'll notice on that budget by program, we've got the plant reserve, the plant's operation surplus going into our unrestricted cash, which we need to do because of our financial result. In a prudent council, that money would be going back into your plant reserve. So it's not a desirable strategy to take, but because of where we are with our financial situation, it's a necessary strategy. So going forward, like all of our asset renewal reserves, we need to be building them up in future years.
And that's what we should be working towards, is putting that money, any money, profited from the plant operation should go back into having a fund, a dedicated fund to replace that plant when the time needs, because we've struck that already. We've got a loan for a patching cart. We did not have the available funds, and we had to go and lease a patching through that, and that cost us, you've got to do these things at that time. We had to. That's what you have to do to have a patching cart. I said, we're a roads council. We need a patching cart out there every day, but we should have had a dedicated asset reserve there for replacing that when it comes up. But as I said, that's the situation we're in, where our income is so small and our expenses are so big that we just don't have that ability. I think, out of the budget, if you want to go through some of these, Councillor, Councillors, I mean, the easiest one, as you said, we've got property maintenance there of $265,000. Well, that's something we haven't done previously, but we've discussed it. I think in council, like, it's a small win to go back and say, well, we'll remove that 265,000, but that's there to maintain the assets that the community owns. I know we talk about them as being council assets, but it's like this building. This is a community building, and we're being irresponsible if we don't keep it up, we don't maintain it, and we don't. All the other structures and things that we have, I think it's our responsibility to maintain them to a certain level, and that we just said we haven't. I'll admit, I don't think we've been doing that to the best of our ability. Was that sorry? Oh yeah. Well, so we actually did a Shepherd's did a report for us on all our assets and put an asset maintenance program. I'll ask the the general manager, maybe you can speak on that one, but it doesn't paint a good picture.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So if you look at that spreadsheet list that's been provided in front of you on the table, that last item, property maintenance. So the Shepherd's report, which was undertaken in the 23-24 financial year, stated that for the 26-27 financial year, council should be putting aside $544,800 for maintenance of council properties. As you can see there, we've got a proposed property maintenance of 265, which is actually a shortfall of around 280,000. If you go back in history and look at that report, our actuals compared to what Shepherds have suggested as the desirable level of maintenance, there's actually a gap of 715,000 between the 23-24 financial year and the 25-26 financial year. You add that to the gap for the proposed budget in 26-27, and it's nearly a $1 million maintenance backlog on property assets alone.
And that's just in the last 3 years.
I think the main thing and I may be wrong, but we are a community-based business that is driving us, but we need to move towards more as a business model, because if we keep going down like as I said before, cutting corners and trying to save every dollar, like $1 million maintenance backlogs, like what could we have done with that? Like this building, if some of the community walked through this building and saw the state of this this one building, they'd be probably quite shocked that any business will let their main business building, get to that point. Yes, we've been unfortunate with some natural disaster with hail and rain and water and stuff like that, but I think that $265,000 doesn't get you very far anyway. In terms of if you need to paint a whole house, there's probably 10, 15 grand just there. And if you need to put a new roof on, if you need to put new accessibility points or whatnot, where $265,000 is not a lot of work to be completed in one building, let alone multiple buildings that we own or multiple assets. We have a big depot down there that I'm sure needs all of them need maintaining, and I think the community outlook on us looking at selling assets or looking at how we can use our assets better is an income generator. It's not at a deficit, because if we want to have employees come here and stay, we have houses that they can stay, or a doctor, or a functional building that serves purpose to our business as a whole, rather than leaving it to the wayside. Then it's demolition by neglect. Then we are looking at more than $1 million backlog. It'll be a few $1 million backlog.
Exactly. I don't think it's a linear thing, because I think if you don't spend it now, in the future the cost is going to be way greater.
Yeah.
It's not just going to be we won't spend $50,000. We'll have to spend it next year.
Yeah.
Next year it's not $50,000. Next year it's $80,000. A year after that it's $150,000.
Yeah. And I think with the current climate, you look at the last 5 years, how much materials have increased. That's just materials, let alone labour. Finding people to actually complete the work is one thing, where that 265, if materials double again, that becomes 500 grand real quick. So,
you, Councillor Gorman?
this sounds all gloom and doom, but the reality is we are running a business, and to be honest, the situation that was presented to us nearly 2 years ago when we came into council, and particularly the state of the plant and how a lot of the equipment and machinery needed to be replaced, according to this operational plan we've been given and list of costs and charges. I consider that the staff have been very responsible and have done very well to come up with 1.08 million that's been spent on plant replacement, because that money didn't seem to be around before. So I don't know what they bought, but it's obviously a list of priorities that we all need, and if they're able to do that and are in the mindset of rational spending and looking at it effectively, I can see, yes, it's scary when you look at the numbers, but I think we're not alone. There's a lot of other councils the same, and I think they're doing a great job, and I hope they continue with the same mindset.
Yeah. Obviously, same thing, that there's a projected spend of $1 million in the budget for the plan, but any plant expenditure then comes back to council as well. There's a council in general.
And you've got to find the money.
That's we're allocating that money in the budget. That's what we're doing. We're now allocating that budget for that expected expenditure of $1 million on plant replacements in the next 12 months. But each individual item, the director will bring it back to, I'm not going to bring back a small one, but if it's a replacement of the plant, generally we brought back to council as to making that as well. So.
But I think that goes back to generating more income, because if we want to buy a big plant, a new garbage truck when FOGO comes in or when something else comes in, we've got to be able to service those loans. So without income to service the loans, there's no point in getting it.
Yeah. General Manager wants to like to speak on that one.
Thank you, Councillor Magan. You're correct. The reason that we are using the surplus from the plant operations is because we don't have the revenue sources elsewhere within the budget program. So it's a short-term solution, but it's not the optimal solution. And you can only ramp up your charges for plant hire so much as the Director of Engineering
Before people don't use it anymore.
That's right.
Yeah.
Before you price yourself.
Yeah, correct.
What Councillor Gorman said is this: that I know it sounds doom and gloom, but I think this is a good discussion. This is what we need to have, this discussion, and we need to all understand that this is the situation we're in. It's that's all it comes down to. It's not trying to sugarcoat it. This is our expenses are very high and our income is very low. And that's, and we said we are so heavily reliant upon that grant funding that if that grant doesn't come through, we're in a world of hurt. And there seems to be, I don't want to get political, but there just seems to be, that we're in a period where the grant funding mightn't come through. We have to be prepared for that. Councillor Paley?
I think this is a sign of the times too, as was mentioned earlier, that other councils and other smaller councils particularly are feeling the same thing. Look, generally our communities, our all people are feeling the pinch these days with rates, with all the prices going up, petrol, whatever's happening in our world at the moment. We just have to think proactively, be confident and make the best decisions for our community. And as I said earlier, we at least have good information. I think we've got a good staff and we can get really good feedback and information, as I said, so we can make good decisions and be more proactive. And I think we've got to start thinking not doom and gloom. We've got to start looking at what opportunities, how can we proactively, and even the community making suggestions to us. We've got to listen to our community. But we are here to, as a council, to provide services to the communities. So at the end of the day, we've got to keep doing that and working out how we do that well and to the best that we can do it given our budget.
Yes. Director. Yeah, sorry, I keep saying director. I'm having a moment. General Manager, like just make a comment.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If you look at page 55 of the operational plan that's been placement in tables. And this goes back to the point that I raised at the strategic session on the budget several weeks back. If you look at the rates and annual charges, we've got a projected rates and annual charges income of 5.3 million. You then go down to expenses and you look at the employee costs, and we've got projected employee costs of 7.6 million. So we aren't even covering our employee costs with our rates and charges. So, sorry, again, it's a doom and gloom picture, but that is the reality of where we are.
Also, to your point, General Manager, that if you look on the by program, all the things that we are renowned for, roads, sewer, waste, are our biggest costs. So sewer is costing us $300,000 a year. Landfill is costing us $200,000 a year, and pool, like Paul said before, there's $568,000 a year. Even our council properties are costing us $800,000 a year at a loss. So you look at our major things that we offer to the community are completed by those wages and salaries. Without, like, none of that would be able to, as the Mayor pointed out before, that none of those jobs would be completed without that $7 million spent. So, and you look at, and the emergency services levy is massive for a council, but we look at the whole corporate and government's aspect just by itself. We, as general revenue, six million of that is rates and financial assistance grant, where everything else is governance, HR. Like, the community might not know that we subscribe to a lot of ICT because we need it for our organisation, is almost $500,000 just by itself or more. So things that we need to actually function as a council, we need to have. We can't, with $7 million of wages, where you can't put that into terms of what they actually accomplish within that $7 million a year. And over the next 10 years or so, over the last 5 years, super's gone up from 10%, now it's 12.5%. So that's a massive cost for any business.
With 90-something employees.
Yeah.
92 employees. That's it.
Yeah. 92, is it? Yeah, so 90, like, we would be easily the biggest employer in the Weddin Shire. And then if we look down the road, not that we are, but none of those jobs are in excess of what we need. It's what we need. And that's why the service reviews come into it and say, hey, we might need an extra engineer, we might need an extra people in pastoral gardens, we might need extra people because we need it. That wages bill's going to go up. Or it might say, on the downside, that actually you've got too many here, then what suffers from that? So it's a double-edged sword. But I think, as Councillor Gorman and everyone sort of, yes, it does seem doom and gloom, but there's nothing that I can see from my point of view of what we can even cut, even from the list that you've given us, $100,000 to put a governance officer in. All that workload is spread across the current staff. So what effect is that having on the level of service that we're giving now? And if we are non-compliant with legislation and regulation, what fines do we get? Well, what does that cost us if we're not doing our job properly?
So that, I think when we did the structural review, which we haven't actually received the report, we probably won't get it back for another 2 months, the actual report on it. But the suggestions out of that was we're actually 2 staff down, which was a governance position and a media communications officer. We're actually suggesting that we're actually we're understaffed by 2 at least, in that quick review.
Yeah.
So, like I said, but we've got to put it out here. Like, that's, we haven't previously funded it. It's a governance officer. If we just did a risk appetite, we said governance is, we're accepting zero risk within the governance area. We want this business to be compliant at all times. Well, we need to have a governance officer to make sure that happens? Do we need to? So we do currently have staff stepping over their job descriptions a lot, and I won't say that because I'll ask for ages, but we do have a lot of staff that just steps out of their area and where their employment area is to cover off on those governance issues, and that's why the report will come back and say we need a governance officer, but that's what we're here to discuss, councillors. Do we think, is that $105,000, is that worth taking out of that budget? The benefit we get from it, is that greater than what that cost with $105,000? That's all. Same thing, or that said, the housing strategy. We removed the $160,000 for the housing strategy. Well, do we put that to towards the LEP review, which is something to we need to do. We haven't done one since 15 years. Sorry? Yeah, 2011 was the last time we did an LEP review. So we're talking about trying to encourage people to come and move to Grenfell or build blocks and things like that. Well, the LEP review of that is very, very important for the area. We need to identify those blocks. We need to identify industrial zones. We need to identify all those different things.
But even the LEP review itself isn't cheap to run anyway.
No.
So we need to having these strategies, we need to have in place before we even get to that stage. That to go through a whole LEP process would be what, $300,000 just by itself, or whatever the cost is.
Haven't got there yet,
but if we not going through these, what we can do a service review on, or a plan or a strategy, we've got nothing to aim towards. So we're leaving a blank open slate to us or to future councillors in the future to go, we've got nothing to say that we've achieved anything, or what we've aimed to do, or if we have achieved anything, or what the KPIs are that, okay, yeah, we achieved this, we might not have been able to achieve it in 5 years as originally said, we can achieve it in 10. Or having something to drive us instead of just going, well, what are we sitting in the seats for? We have something to aim for.
I think when we look at it,
Rolls?
whilst these probably would be the easy ones to remove, you can't remove them because everything will suffer on that.
Yeah.
I think we have to couple the reality that we need to look at a special rate variation, at least start that process within our term, because you don't want to hand this over to a new council and then scratch their head and say, well, bugger, this is what we're going to have to deal with for our first 2 years, given how long the process takes. But you've got a couple of them, like we said earlier, with other sources of income. And just reading the schedule of fees and charges, there's still nothing in there for a new industry to come to town for us to make money from them. So the new solar farm can come to town, set up 35 acres of solar panels, all we'll get is their DA fee. There's nothing in that schedule of fees and charges for us to get ongoing income.
Yeah.
I think as a council we need to really get onto that fast before some industry does realise, well, hang on, Grenfell's cheap, and they'll be on our doorstep and we'll miss the boat. And then they'll bring with them their other friends and then we'll miss the boat twice. So I think that that should be something that we look at within 6 months, realistically, I think. Because I couldn't put a number on what you'd make from that, but it'll be a number that we miss out on either way.
Yeah, nothing's guaranteed, but there's an opportunity to
but
miss.
it's an opportunity there.
The General Manager might speak to that one.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Rolls, for raising that. Very good point. This council does not charge Section 712 or 711 General Fund Developer contributions, whereas most councils do that. Therefore, every time a new development happens in the area, that places a burden on the existing ratepayers. So that's on my radar to review along with other revenue areas in the 26-27 financial year. Because if we do go down the special rate variation path, IPART would be, I believe, challenging council as to why we haven't considered that as a revenue stream.
They do sort of go hand in hand, don't they? If you haven't done everything you can, why are you just jumping into the SR?
Correct.
Is that the easy option that we're taking? Is what IPART would say to us.
Correct.
And obviously, it's been held up. We probably haven't done it previously to try and encourage development because there's a cost to developers. We encourage developers, but
I think
the opportunity is you get a big one like a solar farm or whatever comes.
And just anything like that.
puts a big impost on council assets and puts a big impost in the community, and we're not actually running receiving a D application on those ones. So it would be how you develop it. You could possibly develop it from a certain value. You might put a certain value to still encourage people to build a home or whatever, but then possibly anyone coming in that's going to put a larger infrastructure in place maybe pays more of a...
Isn't that how, going back to what Councillor Rolls was saying, that isn't that where we got stung with the last industrial lot that was sort of released, that it was we didn't chart or it was too cheap or something along the line where we missed out on a fair chunk of income that we could have had? Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of infrastructure costs that weren't covered that just came up.
Yeah.
Like upgrading electricity and upgrading the sewage and things. There was an assumption that the sewage would, not blaming anybody, it was an assumption that the sewage would probably fall, and it didn't fall. It was too close to the sewage works, and
Yeah.
there had to be other systems put in place and things like that.
Yeah.
So I
So
think
that could have been
all
possibly income that we could have benefited from in some way.
The industrial blocks were sold pretty cheap,
to encourage.
almost to the point that we lost money on them,
Yeah.
rather than market value.
Yeah.
We were looking at attracting business, not to progress.
Then yeah.
Can't do it in hindsight, though.
No. I'm just saying in an example sake
Learn
for
from
future.
others.
Yeah.
You don't deal with attracting,
Yeah.
you can do.
So I think I would. I don't want to hold us up. I know we have a long meeting, but I would like to go through these one at a time. The general manager's put the thought into it, so I'd like to go through them one at a time from the start, and we can just get a yay or no whether we want to keep them in or remove them. I think that's probably the best way to do it. Or
Do you have to do a revote, or is it just taken from here because it's just draft?
no, it'll be when we adopt the
Amended.
draft budget, it'll be amended.
It'll just be amended from there. Okay, cool. Yep.
That's all. Said I just think
From a formality side.
yeah, I just think it's worthwhile. It should be what we should be doing. We've got to look at every avenue. So first we've got the housing strategy. There's a risk in there that instead of focusing resources internally to research on targeted areas of the Shire for land use, suitability for residential or commercial industrial lands to assist in the LEP review, places increased workload on existing staff, which results in reduced service levels for their normal substantive roles. So this was to go out and get an external people to do the actual housing strategy for us. Obviously, then it would fall back on staff to do that housing strategy. Do we think there's capacity in the staff? I'm sure they will. to do the housing strategy. So how does council feel this one?
Within that, if we go through the housing strategy, would it not saying that the current staff wouldn't do an awesome job, but would it look better from the LEP if we had external consultants anyway, so they're actually looking at it from an external outlook instead of just the research that the staff have done for themselves?
Speak to Luke or not? Yeah.
So I suppose the aim of it is getting a consultant that's got the expertise and the experience around developing a strategy that they've dealt with department planning, they do it on a daily basis. That'll take longer to do it internally. Obviously, just in terms of staffing, we have to obviously compete with trying to do that on the side and do our normal roles. But I mean, with these strategies, there's a lot of work that goes into them and a lot of background work. So, as a consultant, they build up that knowledge around what the department's after. So that when it comes time to say, right, we've got a strategy, this is what we're wanting to do, you're a step ahead because the department sort of goes, right, yeah, we're comfortable with it. So probably a little bit backwards and forwards, I suppose, if we do it, try to do it internally. I mean, what we would probably do is try to do as much as we can. If we could reduce the cost, obviously, if we went through down that process, is trying to reduce the cost as much, try and do some of the legwork ourselves anyway, if we can. But that's a negotiation, obviously, with the consultants.
Yeah. And we have actually tried to go for grants for it in the past. You've gone already twice.
So 3 or 4 times.
3 or 4 times you've gone for a grant and still haven't got the grant. Councillor Hibbert?
Would this be able to put forward to the LEP review? Like if this is done, would that be able to
Yep.
cut the cost?
That's exactly what it does, feeds into the LEP review.
Yes. I mean, historically, that's been always advised that if you want to make substantial changes to your local environmental plan, you really need a strategy behind that, because you've got to be able to sort of say, well, look, these are the reasons why we're doing it. Here's the long-term projection in terms of housing or employment, industrial land. So You can't really just go and say, oh, look, we want to grow and create 100 residential allotments. You've got to have some data behind you to say, well, look, on average, we have 10 new houses a year. Yep, there's not enough land there. These are the areas that we want to explore in terms of providing more land for a particular purpose, but then you've also got to go take a step back and look at the infrastructure that's there. Okay, you've got to extend sewer, water, potentially.
Yeah.
Power issues is a big thing these days too, so consulting with essential energy, and there's no point in going and saying, look, we want to expand this area, and then finding out that power costs just won't stack up. So all those things sort of feed into making some changes, like that's expanding sort of some whether it's residential area or industrial areas, but on top of that, we also need to sort of look at some existing areas and tinkering around with where some of those existing zones are. Because look, in 2011, it was essentially, there has been a little bit of work done over the years, but it essentially was a swap from the old LEP into the new LEP. So that's why we've got some zone anomalies around businesses in residential zones and all the other types of things that we need to try and, I suppose, to the best we can solve. I mean, we're not going to solve every issue, but if we can sort of allow for, as I said, some existing businesses, so they can't technically expand if they're in a residential area, so trying to, or there's limitations on that, so we need to sort of try and get on top of some of that stuff as well.
Councillor Gorman?
I was just going to say there are several areas around town, and people who've lived here for a long time would have no trouble thinking, well, this would be a good, if you like, paddock at the moment, which we could subdivide and turn into a residential area. Maybe it's never been considered by the people who own those larger blocks of ground, but if some of them are approached, whether or not they would consider it, that could be an opening. And instead of maybe going out immediately or soon and getting a consultant involved, we're part of the JO. What about all these other councils we're friendly with and we interact with on an equal basis? And Luke, you would know lots of people who are your environmental counterparts in various councils. I mean, can't we sort of say, well, or even invite them to a meeting and have like an open forum, you and your counterparts, and see what clues and that you can get from them. Some might even share policies or aspects of their policies. Wouldn't that be a good stepping stone?
I suppose the one thing in terms of just copying the policies, but these are sites, these are like
very specific to our shire
issues. So you'll find that a lot of our surrounding councils have already sort of done housing strategies and employment strategies, which are then driving their expansion or their LEP changes around rezone land and those types of things. That's unfortunate, but a lot of the funding that's out there is all driven around housing, and the government wants the biggest bang for their buck. So when we as Weddin are talking small numbers, relatively, it's hard to try and get that piece of that funding pie, because they obviously want to be able to say, look, we've got 5,000 homes, not 50 or 5 or 15.
But some of them may even be able to give you a bit of a heads up in terms of they are at a higher level now, but they weren't at one stage. And how did they start? Maybe they've got a policy they'll share that you can.
I mean, we a lot of public documents, housing strategies. So I mean, you can get in there and have a look what's in there. But as I said, it's very specific around infrastructure, what your population projections are, all those types of things, and then obviously site specific around. Are we going to expand out this way? No, that doesn't make sense. We're going to think that these other options, and sometimes it's exploring multiple options to say, look, we've got 6 scenarios. What's the best option at the end of the day?
Yeah, just expanding on what Luke said, noting that we are a smaller council. Potential for development is therefore limited. The federal government has recently announced in their budget for $2 billion over a 4-year period for enabling infrastructure, so that's like sewer, water, roads, for new development. $500 million of that is dedicated to regional areas. I would suggest there's a potential risk if we don't have a relevant, timely strategy and LNP that we could miss out on grant funding.
Councillor Pilot?
I wouldn't like to see this removed because we've spent years, and our current director, I know, has done a lot of work, and we've been chasing grants. I think we still need to be doing that. As our general manager has just said, this is a high priority thing, housing at the moment. So I think we would be remiss if we don't have a housing strategy and have finance and money there to be able to continue doing this. And we need to invest in it. If you invest, the more you invest, actually, the better the outcome. Yeah. You sometimes have to do that to get good results. You spend less, you get cheaper outcomes. And we want growth in all these areas, our commercial, our residential and industrial. So that's how we have to do it. We have to have the shovel ready to be able to move forward.
No one's got any more comments now. I'll just do a quick show of hands. And thanks for giving me a bit of leeway on this, but I think it's important we do, we've got to look into this budget and see where we can make savings. I said thanks to the director because they're not aware of this, and I put them on the spot with this a bit, so their responses are off the cuff, but thank you. So just anyone, or show of hands, everyone wants to include the housing strategy in the budget, please raise your hand. Thank you. We'll move on to the governance officer. I think this is, so the risk is that we'll be non-compliant with legislation requirements. Once again, the workload will stay with current staff. So you've got current staff taking on roles that they're not actually employed to do as a governance in the governance area. Anyone comment on this one?
How do the staff feel about it? Has anyone spoken to one or two people who feel they, I'm talking about the people that maybe are doing the role now and how they feel about.
I'm confident that if the general manager's put this in the budget, it's in direct response of what the staff would like.
Thank you, Councillor. The staff feedback has been incorporated into the local government New South Wales organisational structure review, and hence their recommendation about a governance officer.
No.
Because that workload is spread amongst multiple staff at the moment.
I think while it's meritable that the staff have been doing this, I think if we free our staff up to then be more proactive and productive in what their area of expertise is, we'll see better results from our staff. And that's what we want. We can have happier staff, not, oh, suddenly you've got to look at this and address this, whereas we have someone in that role. And we've got to be compliant. All these things, there's so much regulatory things and issues coming up now. We've got to be up to date with that. And you can't just have that spread across the staff. It needs to be specifically given and driven by one person.
I think, from my point of view, the fallback's too great. If you spread it across staff that aren't knowledgeable in this area, who does the buck pass on to if something goes wrong? So if you have one officer that's driving it, as Councillor Bartlett said, that if they're all over it, instead of 5 different people working across this one massive aspect, something goes wrong when non-compliant, who does it actually fall to? Who's the delegation to? Yeah, that's what I mean. So obviously, ultimate delegation goes to you, General Manager. But I think as a whole, all the governance aspect is so huge that it would be remiss to go spread it across 10 people to ensure that we're compliant instead of one person driving it from a central point. So I don't see it being even negotiable at this point.
We were talking risk appetite the other day, so here it is.
Thank you, Councillor Mackin. Yes, as a recent example, service reviews. Council has never done service reviews previously. We're starting a service review this year. We're doing a series of service reviews in 26-27, which have been listed in the operational plan. That's an integrated planning and reporting framework requirement. You could say, because we haven't had that dedicated governance resource, that's why that's fallen through gaps.
Councillor Neil?
Yeah, 3 years, Mr. Mayor. I don't think we've got any choice in this, have we? by rights. If we're non-compliant, we have to do it, as Mr. Macon said. We have to do it. We can't get rid of it.
Yes, we do have a choice. We can keep spreading amongst the staff at the moment, but that's what I'm highlighting in that commentary.
Yeah.
There is a risk because it's spread amongst the staff that things will slip through the gaps.
Yeah. Yeah.
Said we'll comment that that'll come back out of that report when we get that report in a couple of weeks' time, a couple of months' time. That we're pretty confident that's what it's going to say. So
Yeah, right.
I think that the staff are just being proactive and knowing that's going to come up in it, so we'll try and put it in the budget for the following year. Yeah. Any questions on that one, councillors?
You can only spread so many hats across so many people.
Yeah.
So until something burns.
That's right.
For lack of a better way to say it, where if you have a staff member doing 4 different roles, the morale, the burnout rate, that is, then you lose those people from the business entirely. We're even worse off than what we are.
I can't say that is the main reason, but I said we do have a staff turnover rate. It's not good. We want to address that. So.
Yeah, sorry, in addition to your comment, Councillor Macon, it's also the fact that you have staff that aren't specialists in that area of the network.
Yeah. No more comments on that one. I'll do a show of hands on that one then. Thank you. All those to include the governance officer in the budget, please raise your hand.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. All those against, thank you, councillors. Next one is the sewer development and servicing plan. I think we sort of spoke about this at the last a couple of council meetings ago regarding a development application. It's something that it is legislated for in some areas that we need to address. There are some legislation requirements across this one, so I wouldn't imagine anyone's going to speak against this one. I know he's put it in there to defer it again, but
it's a bit of a Dorothy jigsaw.
Yeah. So, any questions on this one, councillors, or anything like that? No.
So this is purely a review of the current.
Well, it is, but it also includes to develop an actual development servicing plan.
It's a step to address the review of the Grenfell sewer contributions plan, which was per that resolution that's just in the box there. March 26th.
And is that just that figure, is that an industry average?
That's an estimate from the sewer engineer as to what it will cost to engage consultants to do that work.
Very high number.
Unfortunately, consultancy costs are not cheap.
I think we defer that. Again.
That's the weekend.
Defer it again. Yeah. I think there is a compliance issue that I think we probably would be good to address with this. I know where you're coming from to say it's $120,000 for a consultancy. Obviously, before we actually engage someone, you're not just going to pay them $120,000. We're going to go through a process to get the best value for money on that one. Yeah. Any other comments on that, Chris? No? I don't think there's any staff hasn't got any comments on it. No? No comments on that one. All right, thank you very much. So, Councillor Rolls has suggested we defer it. I'll put it there. Anyone would like to keep it in this budget, please raise your hands. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
thank you. Yeah, anyone against? Don't change.
Okay.
That's right.
I won't go against it, but if it's in, it's in.
Yeah, thank you. Business Improvement Fund. I might actually ask the General Manager to speak on this one, if that's okay. We did have it as a $250,000 one. We did actually, at first, initially in the discussions, allocated $250,000. We've actually cut it back to $80,000. And it possibly won't get much done that year, but it'll at least gives us a figure that we can roll over to the next year to add to it. So,
yeah. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That's correct. We had it originally at $250,000 to lessen the impact on unrestricted cash. We've reduced it back to $80,000. The purpose of that allocation is for engagement of consultants to look at efficiency savings and productivity improvement. An example of which we could have a consultant going through looking at our plant fund to see if there's ways that we can rationalise our fleet, we can look at our hire charges, we could engage consultants to also look at things like our merchant service fees to see if we're charging the correct rates on those. So just going through and doing an analysis of the business to be quite blunt, $80,000, as we've just discussed about consultants, which is quite low.
Yeah.
And as I put in there, the strategy, if that 80,000 goes in, will be to reallocate any savings from budget items in 26-27 back to that line item to get it back up to the 250,000. For council's awareness, with a special rate variation, if you put a proposal to IPART for a special rate variation, you're required to demonstrate 2 years of historical efficiency savings and productivity improvements. So that would be part of the strategy towards going that path.
But that's what, I suppose you might be forgetting about going to any sort of, rate review. Like that's the part of the job, isn't it? To look for as much savings as what we possibly can. That's what we're here to do. Try and where can we make savings? You're spending money to try and save money. What it comes down to. So it's a big organisation with multiple facets. You've got to go through each individual thing and saying, where can we save money? Are we doing the best job? Are we doing the cheapest job we can possibly do? That's all. Any other questions on that one, councillors?
I think from that point of view, apart from we needing to do it, that it's an investment that will ultimately and potentially save us more than $250,000 anyway. So the business where we can, they might find areas that we wouldn't even consider if we did it ourselves. So I think having a fresh set of eyes on these sort of things where people have been in the business for so long might be looking at certain areas and avenues where they could suggest that's why they're consultants and they're experts. So I don't think there's a reason not to.
Yeah, any other council comments? No? So I'll put that one to the vote then, if that's all right. Just raise your hand if you want to include that one of the business improvement fund into the budget, please. Thank you, councillors. Yep. The next one is the biosecurity service review. Once again, this is just trying to review our services as we go along. As we said, as a requirement of our IPNR to do service reviews, and this was just the one that we picked out. I probably said to the general manager a bit about this one. I think we're a rural council. Agriculture is our biggest business. Agriculture is where where the community makes their money, and biosecurity is such an important and expensive thing for farmers to do on their own. And I think we need to look at whether or not, as a business, we're doing the best job possible that we can be doing as a business, protecting the councils, protecting that cost. That's where I believe it should be. It's important that we do it because, as I said, I think it's just so important to the community. And I know that the general manager quite often gets already. He's only been here 4 months, but quite obviously gets a farmer in his ears saying, we need to do more in that area. Well, the best way to do more is to find out what we're doing now and can we do it better. Yeah. So, anyone wish to speak on that one? No.
I think we know what the problems are. We just haven't got the funds to put it into place. I don't think we need a review on it.
Yep.
Would that be a consultant review going there? That's
Correct.
Because I just didn't want it to be again pressure on staff again.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean? Because that's what I assumed. But I thought I better just check that.
Yeah, same thing. I can't speak for all the staff. I just can't imagine there's many people in the organisation with specialists.
So we have limited staff in that area.
In that area,
the expertise is my understanding. So.
Yeah.
Putting more
and I'm assuming the staff are doing their best as far as they know. So it's looking at whether or not we're doing the right thing with it.
And where would you source the consultant? Department of Ag or a private enterprise?
There's multiple consultants out there that do service reviews in that area. I've managed consultants before, specifically in that area. There's consultants available through local government procurement. So there's a number of those that do service reviews that have expertise in biosecurity.
I think the points there that were written, the breach of general biosecurity duty, section 22, I'd imagine, and offences to failure to discharge that duty would cost more than $80,000 if we're doing something wrong. And more than that, if we are doing something wrong or not doing something to the best of our ability, what's it costing our community in their income or what they're able to produce for for themselves as well. So I think the investment in that is pretty blunt, where we need to make sure we're looking at, so for this example, finding burgrass at the cemetery. Like, they might look at that and go, okay, you need to do X, Y, Z, or look at other areas for the stock routes, fire hazard reduction, and all that sort of stuff, to go how we can improve those areas, which are a big talking point within the community. Well, I think the cost would be greater than the investment if we aren't doing it. Same as all of them.
I mean, we can, same thing. We can all of this. We can postpone it again to another year. We
just kick the can down the road.
Well, that's what I mean. We definitely can do that, but are we expecting that next year is going to be so much better that we're going to be able to do these reviews, or are we going to continue to pass them into the future? And
if we invest in all these now, we've got the information in the future to make smart decisions of where we need to invest our money, or allocate funds, or resource from the JO, or get more staff, get more plants, so because we know what we actually need instead of just guessing at what we need.
Yeah. But I don't disagree with Councillor Niven. It's just such an important part of our business. It has a big impact on the farmers and the money that they have to spend. If we're not doing our job properly, if we're not doing our job properly, well, is it impacting all of them on the costs that they're putting into their own spraying programs and things like that? We've changed over the years from being noxious weeds to now biosecurity, and it's so focused on biosecurity where we're sort of, the noxious weeds, we're not getting on top of them, I don't think. So prickly pear and stuff out of different places and things. So that's all. But is it better do we postpone it for another 12 months? Do we assume that in 12 months we're going to be in a better position to do this again? So.
Me personally, I think you're just kicking all the cans down the road for a later date when we don't actually address anything.
Well, not to say it again. Yeah. We know there's blackberries to spray. We know. Like, we're better off to spend the money on staff and chemical. We know what the problems are.
I would agree with John, coming from a farming background. The farmers know what they've got in their paddocks, and in most cases, if they need advice, they go and talk to a agronomist, etc., or they can consult at higher levels. And maybe we need, if anything, we need to do more spraying along the roadsides to make sure that it doesn't spread from one paddock to another. Put out 80,000 there, and this is adding up, 160, 105, 120.
So these are in the budget already. We're talking about removing.
Oh, okay. All right.
So if you remove them, they're not going to go to another line item. They're removed. Yeah. So it's not going to go towards spraying. It's
we put them in the next budget.
Yeah, next time.
Yeah, but
I see what you mean. Yeah, I get the money. Yeah.
So
we'd have
it's
already been
to remove a line item to make it to reduce the deficit.
So we can remove it, councillors. There's no problem removing it. We're looking at our IPNR stuff as our surplus reviews. If we're not doing that as a surplus review, are we ticking our boxes with our responsibilities for IPNR doing surplus reviews?
Yeah.
We've got two.
We've got two others in there. So
I'm not saying remove it, because I think it's really important, and we are an agricultural community. My thinking was that 80,000 would go towards the removal, the remediation and the control of the weeds. Yeah. But if that's not the case, maybe we need to keep it in.
Yeah.
Everything. If you get your budget down and you've got a profit, then you can spend the profit on whatever you like. So it is $80,000. A lot of money over the scheme of things. As I said, as a projected budget result of after adjustments of what 9.2 or nearly $10 million. Is that going to fix everything or not? I'm not sure. But it's up to councillors.
So we can't actually
if we're going to make savings,
put that concept on hold. And
you can.
That's the point.
Still direct the 80,000.
No.
Okay.
The 80,000 gets left in the bucket.
Okay.
You can't amend the budget.
That's all right. I get it. That's all right.
Yeah.
There's nothing legislatively that says that we have to do a biosecurity review next year. because we've got two other service reviews planned, workforce management and aquatic facilities. So we're ticking the box as far as integrated planning and reporting is concerned. We do just those two. And no, the whole purpose of this is to improve the bottom line. So we wouldn't reallocate.
How many service reviews all up would you assume within the organisation?
Oh,
I'm sorry. Oh, no, it's probably
sorry, that is on spot.
I know. I was just thought
typical councils probably around 30 to 40 different business units. So yeah.
So if we're only doing 2 out of every 30, every 15 years. Will
advice that I've received previously from consultants that undertake service reviews is that it's wise for a council to do no more than probably about 2 service reviews a year, two to three probably, because otherwise you put in too big a burden. Because obviously, not only have you got the consultant, they've got to spend time with staff as well. So it's putting too much of a burden on the organisation. 2 of those reviews that I spoke to previously, the aquatic facilities and the workforce management, we're proposing to access Morrison and Lowe's service review in a box. So that's a very streamlined, less expensive review. They're about $19,500 each. Sorry, not enough, 9,500 each. Sorry, 9,500 each. And Morrison have got a lot of experience in this review processes. They've got access to a lot of data across the industry, and that's more than likely the reason why they're able to do it a lot cheaper than going out to another provider. Whereas my experience with other providers in the past, typically they've been around the $60,000 to $80,000 ballpark for doing a service review.
So all of these would come well under once you get into it.
That could.
Yeah.
Could also come over.
But that one, it's already been allocated for. If we don't engage in it, it's still going to be allocated for, regardless within the budget, right? Or if it's in the budget, we are doing it.
No, the budget will be amended.
Correct.
Yes, that's what I was saying.
So it will be taken out so that the deficit will be reduced by the 80,000.
No, but I'm saying if it's still in there, if we go keep all these in and we don't get it to it in this financial year, it's still going to be there anyway. Does that make sense?
No.
Through you, Mr Mayor, I do know what Councillor Baker's trying to say. But we're squabbling right now over 80 grand against a deficit of $10 million. It's not even 1%.
No, that's what.
Let's just vote it in and move on. Like, we're not going to change anything.
That's more than what I was getting to.
I'll address Councillor Maker's point. If it's in there and we don't do the works, then you lose it in the following year, unless you commence works on it, and then it becomes...
Right, okay, so there you go. Yeah, thank you. But yeah,
It's not 1%. Let's stop the squabbling.
Yeah. Well, it's less than... The issue with the $80,000, I suppose, is it's more expensive than the other service reviews. We probably wouldn't even argue over the $9,000 because that's great. If we can do all the $9,000 one, I think we've brought this up. This has been brought up because this is going to be one of the most, more expensive, business units that we do to actually do the review on.
If it was on the roadmap for Morrison and Lowe with their service review and box program, I could use Morrison and Lowe. The reason I've brought it forward, the reason I've put it on the agenda is because, as the Mayor alluded to previously, I've had it raised with me by several farmers over the 5 months that I've been here about the issue of biosecurity high priority weeds.
It makes sense.
yeah. I think we'd be remiss in our community not to do it, from my point of view.
Right, let's vote. Very good discussion. all those in favour of including that one in the budget, please, councillors, raise your hands. Thank you. All those against? Yep, thank you. All right, we'll move on. We've got the pension eradication. This is $10,000, but it's down there, Councillor Pallett.
I better declare a
because you've got
conflict of interest. Yes, on this, I just realised.
I think we've all got
I will stay in the room. It's a significant no. Left the room no, and the reason for not leaving no personal benefit. Okay, so I will fill this in now.
Yeah, I might just ask the director if he feels comfortable. I know I'm putting him on the spot again, but to speak on this one, but it is $10,000, but we're.
So we've had a number of complaints around pigeons around town, but we also had an issue at the depot. So we've got 2 open bays down both ends of the main shed. One's in the wash bay, one's in the fuel bay. And it was just getting to the point where there's so many pigeons roosting in there that the staff were coming in and your bowsers are covered in feces, and then the same with the sort of healthy conditions in the wash bay. So I suppose from previous experience, they're quite hard to deal with, pigeons. So we engaged a contractor a licensed shooter to come in and deal with those. So while they were here though, they done the depot, but we've also expanded and done some areas around the CBD area as well, just to try and reduce the numbers. So I suppose the thinking is like all things with pests, is that if you don't stay on top of it, they just get back to where they were before.
Yep.
So it was around sort of having some money in the budget to sort of keep on top of those and chip away at them. There was initial cull, and then, as I said, it doesn't take very long. I think it's a matter of sort of 3 months in terms of their breeding program, is that they can start to come back in just in bigger numbers. So probably, as I said, there's probably a little bit of savings there. We've put that in as a figure that we thought to get them back on sort of multiple occasions during the 12-month period, but it'll just depend on how well and how successful we go with the next shoot. So
it's five shoots a year to maintain it, essentially.
I mean, as I said, whether we need to, we sort of expanded it originally to sort of look at, I think there was a few different areas, and even sort of one of the local schools was having issues. So
used to be one of them.
So they've done those. That was just an initial offer, but as I said, whether we only concentrate on the depot and not sort of go beyond that.
Does this also extend to some local businesses that house buildings in the main street that house quite a large, significant population of them?
We did last time. That was they went through for a bit of a stroll through town and identified some of those areas. So with pigeons, sometimes, where they roost during the day and where they go at night, is 2 different things too. So it's quite interesting when they start getting around. So so it's really a matter of, there's no point just turning up to the depot when half of them might be somewhere else and sort of flop between the two locations.
It's this sort of 200 cats, isn't it? You only have to shoot them.
Councillor Gorman?
So was the requirement for a licensed shooter, or was it a pest eradication company that was engaged to do this?
Look, they're licensed shooters, but they also have all the appropriate gear to do their pest eradication, but they've got to have the appropriate insurances. Obviously, they deal with the police because they're walking around with a gun, so there's a bit involved with doing that. So it's still relatively cheap to get them here for a night. The one that we have used because he was coming through doing other places, so we've sort of just tried to get on the tail of that. So, look, I mean, at the end of the day, you could push it back and say, look, it's on property owners to do it themselves. I mean, we've really only got to worry about our own properties, but we know if they're here in town, they're going to do a whole night shoot. Well, we might take advantage of them. That's why we've done it in multiple areas around.
Councillors? Put that one, I don't think there's many more questions on that one, but put that one to the vote. All those in favour of including the $10,000? Thank you. All those against? Thank you, councillors. Next one's a big one, obviously, is the property maintenance, which we had a good discussion on. Anyone like to speak any more on that one? No? No? No one wants to speak on it. It's the biggest. We in a bad year where we've got a big deficit, we're putting money aside, but like I said, we own the infrastructure, we own these buildings, and it'd be pretty remiss of us if we didn't spend any money on them. And that said, I think we're dealing with a situation where we haven't for a while, and as we said, keep saying the tin's been kicked down the road, and we're getting to a point where we've got to start acting. It's also anyone.
There would be not one business in Australia that doesn't have a building maintenance section in their budget, regardless of whatever business it is. Coming from working with multiple
businesses in my career that it's usually one of the highest allocated is building maintenance, because without the building you don't have the business. It's essentially so. I'm surprised that it hasn't been more at the forefront. Obviously, needing the funds, having to do it, but you kick the can down the road so far, the building's going to fall down when you kick the can into it.
It's covered in the appreciation
that
we have.
Yeah.
Right. So all those in favour of including, if no one's got any more comments on that one, sorry, all those in favour of including the property maintenance in the budget? Yeah, thank you, councillors. Thank you very much for going through that with me. I know it was a bit of a long one and added to the meeting, but I think it's important. I said that the general managers looked through and tried to find savings and said it's a good way to point out to the community. It's just...
Thank you to the GM for doing that, actually. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, he's looked for areas where he can, and the staff have discussed areas where they can cut back, but it's hard to find. We've reduced it down as much as we can over a long period of time.
So basically, we haven't found any savings.
Basically.
Not yet. We'll keep looking.
So, any more discussions on the long-term financial? We're not up to the long-term financial plan on the operational plan, councillors. I know we've gone into it, but it's important we go into it. It's important that we look at these things and scrutinise them and go through it. It really is. Well, I just want to make sure no more discussion on them, and there's no more discussion. Then I'll ask we move out of the committee of the whole. Do I move by Councillor Rolls, the second by Councillor Montgomery, please? All those in favour of moving out of committee of the whole? Thank you, councillors. No, I didn't. Is there a recommendation? Sorry. Oh, right. Okay. So there is an amendment. So who moves and seconded the first one? Councillor. Yeah, Councillor Gorman and Rolls. There is an amendment. It's just tidying up some of the actual wording on it. Do you accept that amendment to be now the motion? Yep, Councillor Rolls. So now that becomes the motion. So council endorses the updated as tabled attached draft operational plan from 2026 to 2027, including the draft fees and charges schedule for 2026-27, which is Appendix A of the attached draft operational plan 2026-27, and including the draft budget for 2026-27, which is Appendix B of the attached draft operational plan 2026-27 for public exhibition for a period of 28 days. And 2, Council receive a further report in relation to the draft operational plan 2026-27, draft fees and charges schedule 2026-27, and draft budget 2026-27 following the conclusion of the public exhibition period. So that's now the motion. I'll put that one to the favour. All those in favour of councillors, the recommendation. Thank you very much. All those against? Thank you. Thank you very much. Like I said, it's a long discussion, but it's something we have to do, and I think doing budgets is the most important thing that you do as a councillor. It's the most impactful thing that you can do, and we've just got to do it right. Next, thank you. Next, we move on to 10.2. Is that correct?
Yep.
Yep. 10.2 is our quarterly budget review, the QBRS. As of 31st of March 2026. The recommendations here, councillors, is that 1, we note the quarterly budget review statement for the quarter ending the 31st of March 2026. 2, we approve the following general fund income budget variations. 1 is we add $52,000 financial assistance grants for the general purpose. We add $72,000 for the financial assistance grants for the local roads component. C, we decrease $20,000 in interest on cash and investments income to the sewer fund. And D, we decrease $5,000 interest on cash and investments income to the sewer fund, section 64, developer contributions. 3, we approve a general fund expenditure budget variation to transfer $35,000 from information community and technology capital expenditure to information community and technology operating expenditure, obviously just a change. Reallocate $24,000 of interest on cash and investment income from the general fund to the domestic waste management fund. Note the domestic waste management fund is within the general fund. 3, allocate $3,000 from the economic developments to 1, events for youth week contributions. And 6, we reallocate $280,000 from 4, the natural disasters to 4, engineering support for salary and wages. and reallocate $158,000 from the swimming pools 3 to 3 council properties for building repairs and maintenance. I'll ask who's speaking on this one? Sorry, and there is an amendment which I haven't got here. Sorry, the amendment which is 7 and 8. No, we've done 7. 8. Sorry, 8. 3. Approve a general fund budget variation to transfer $770,000 from employee leave entitlements reserve to unrestricted funds to fund current year operations in the proposed 2026-2027 operation. That's it. That's the amendment as well. Councillors, we have a move and a second for those ones. Yes, Councillor Montgomery, thank you, and seconded by Councillor Parlett. Thank you very much. I shall now ask the Acting Director, is on the right to speak on this one or not?
I think I can.
Oh, sorry. She's deferring to the General Manager, so I'll ask the General Manager to speak on this one. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. So it's a net decrease to, net increase to the operating result of 59,000. There's a lot of reallocations that you can see in the recommendations. Slight adjustment to the financial assistance grant. As you mentioned, there's a change in the ICT allocation between capital and operational expenditure. That's to do with the council meeting software, changing the type of software that we're going to use in that regard. The ELE reduction in ELE financial reserve of 770,000 goes to our previous discussion in regards to the operational plan and addressing the unrestricted cash challenges that we've got in front of us. The cash allocation for ELE funding presently is 100% of the ELE liability. That's not prudent financial management. That's basically saying all your employees leave now and we fund them. That's not going to be the case. The OLG in the past had a rule of thumb of about, I think it's 25 to 30%. Prudent management is probably something in the vicinity of 40 to 70%. Reducing it by 770,000 brings it to 48% of our leave entitlement as at 30th of June 25, because obviously we don't have the 30 June 26 figure. And by doing that, we'll also place it under rigorous review going forward to ensure that we improve that cash funding. The analysis that you need to do, and I've alluded to that in previous QBRs, is that we should be looking at the demographic of our workforce to determine what our true cash allocation should be in that reserve. That's why that suggestion is being put forward.
Any questions or any of those items, councillors? Councillor Rolls.
For you, Mr Mayor, what is the current ELE reserve as it sits now?
Sorry? You can answer that if you've got the figure on the top of your head.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Rolls. So, as at 30th of June 25, it was about 1.3 million, the ELE liability. As I mentioned previously, that was 100% funded. This is dropping, I think, down to 603. That was at that, but the actual liability at 30th of June 25 was about 1.3 million. So this is dropping it down, as mentioned, to about 48% of the liability funded.
But the liability itself will remain the same?
No, the liability moves over time as a result of staff movements, as a result of award increases. So the liability changes. I can only give you that percentage based on the 30th of June 25 figure, because I don't have 30 June 26 figure.
So through you, Ms Mayor, again, and probably direct to the GM, in the event that something did happen and all our staff were to all finish on the same day, what would be the guarantee to them that they would all receive their entitlements? If we are moving this money?
Well, we'd have to look at Mr Mayor, we'd have to look at reallocating money from other internal reserves.
Yeah.
So quarries, plant, those are our other options.
It's a hard sell to staff, isn't it?
It is. We have historically been 100% cash backed in that.
It's rare that councils have 100% ELE funding.
If I remember correctly, I think through our auditors we've been pointed that out a number of times that it's rare for anyone to do that.
Yeah.
But it just goes to your liquidity, doesn't it? Really?
Yep.
It's the same thing. It just affects your liquidity at the end of the financial year.
We still have to find the money anyway. It's not disappearing. So as Councillor Ross said, the liability is still technically there. It just falls into a different line, potentially. Is that correct?
What this is saying is that we're not going to fund that liability all at once.
Yeah.
Because the reality is that liability should not all occur at once.
No.
It should occur as your workforce, as your staff exit the workforce.
Yeah.
Which goes back to my comment about doing a rigorous analysis across the demographic of the workforce to get a more robust funding ratio that we should be targeting.
Yeah.
The issue we've got is the unrestricted cash issue, as we've discussed in the operation plan.
Yeah.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So as if one of our longer, or say our longest term staff member was to announce an intention to retire or finish next year, whatever word you want to call it, and then they would be paid and their leave entitlement would obviously decrease. Would then a revote come before council to adjust that figure to, say we paid Bob out for his 25 years of service, that would come from the ELE reserves, and the rebalance of that account would happen within the accounting software.
We will, thank you, Councillor Rolls, for your question. We will review it once we've got the financial statements figure on the liability at 30th of June 26.
So reviewed annually this week.
Yeah. So annually you bring it back up to your whatever percentage of share you're working under.
Correct. Yeah. One of my targets for next financial year is to bring a financial reserves policy to council, and ELE will obviously be one of those reserves where I'll talk about what the purpose of the reserve should be and how the transfers to and from the reserve should occur and what the desired level of those reserves should be.
And one more question, and this is, I'm just thinking from a staff point of view, there is no intention of council to move these funds into unrestricted to spend them on anything. This is purely to fall in line with industry norms and what auditors have recommended. We aren't, I just want staff to know that we're not looking to move that money so we can spend it on something else. It's just to fall in line, better accounting.
Through Mr. Mayor. This is, as mentioned previously, this is to address a unrestricted cash impact that we've got going forward. It is rule of thumb, it has been a rule of thumb of the Office of Local Government previously for a ELE funding ratio being around 25 to 30% mark. It's acceptable to be around 40 to 70%. This will bring us to, based on the 30th of June 25 liability, to 48%. But we will maintain this under constant review to ensure that we've got adequate reserve funding for that liability.
Thank you.
Because the only time it's ever called upon is when the whole of staff leave, which is, as you said, and then you're not spending your money anyway. You're not spending because you've got no staff to carry out the work, so you're not actually spending wages. So then you've just got to reallocate your funds across to from there to pay for the entitlements. Sorry, from plans or yeah. Any questions on any other ones, councillors? No. I suppose to say the some of the variations there looked like it was because the interest we were actually putting the interest from the sewage money fund into the general funds, and now we're actually just putting it back into the sewage fund.
Correct.
Yeah.
Under the Local Government Act, income and expenditure related to a restricted fund obviously should be quarantined to that area.
Yeah.
And we're just tidying up, improving our allocations from the general fund into restricted funds such as sewer and domestic waste.
Yeah. I've got another ones. Yeah. No, so yeah, okay. That is the other one. Any other questions, councillors? That one? No discussion. Yeah. All right, I'll put that in motion. We've got the move and second, haven't we? Yeah, it's just not. That includes the amendment. That is the amendment, yeah. So I haven't put the amendment, but I will ask the first move and the second whether they're happy with those couple of amendments that were slightly different. So happy? Yep. Thank you. It's Councillor Parlett. Sorry, it wasn't Councillor May. You happy with that one, Councillor Parlett? Yes, that's right. Sorry, I didn't hear. That's right. In that case, I'll put those the amendments to the QBRS in favour. All those in favour of the vote, please. Thank you. All those against? Thank you, councillors. Yeah, Councillor White wants to be noted. Thank you. Next we move. Where are we up to now? QBRS. Right, 10.3, which is our statement of bank balances and investments and restricted cash and banking facilities. Recommendation the information in this report relating to the statement of bank and investment balances as of the 30th of April 2026, restricted cash and banking facilities be noted. Some good news. We have a mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor Montgomery, seconded by Councillor Macon. Thank you very much. Who would you like to speak on this? Anyone questions on this, or any councillors, any questions or comments on this?
This term deposits over 5%.
Very, very good. Yeah. There's no question on that one. I just think I can issue that one. I'll put that one to the vote. All those in favour of those recommendations, councillors? Thank you. All those against? Thank you very much. Next we move on 10.4, our rates and annual charge collection as of April 2026. Council notes information received within this report. Once again, pretty standard report, just keeping us updated on where we're up to with our rates and annual charges as through the year. We've got one more quarter after this, obviously. So currently we have the outstanding of 1.4 million as of the 30th of April. Oh no, sorry, we've done a better result, actually 1.37. Better result than we were last year, so which is really good. Any questions of any of the directors on this one, councillors? No? No questions or comments? No? I'll put Councillor. Sorry? Oh, sorry. Move a second up. I got ahead of myself. I thought, didn't I? No. So, sorry. Yeah. Mover if that's one then, councillors. Moved by Councillor Montgomery and seconded by Councillor Macon. Thank you very much. If there's no more questions on this, I'll ask we put this one to the vote. All those in favour of those recommendations that we note them. Yeah, all those against? Thank you, councillors. Next, 10.5, we have an update on tourist operations, visitor statistics, projects, grants, events and galleries, activities as of February to April 2026. We'll note that report. Didn't know whether the acting director wanted to speak on any of these particular... Can you take it as read? Take it as read, right? Any questions or comments regarding this one, councillors? No? No? Good to see our visitations up a little bit, which is good. Hopefully it continues through for the festival. We have good visitation at the festival this year. So, no, there's no question on this one, councillors. I'll put this one. We note that report to the vote. All those in favour of noting the report? Thank you, councillors. All those against? Thank you.
Yeah.
I'll do it again. Yeah. I did it twice.
Okay.
I thought I said Councillor Montgomery and Councillor Macon. Yeah. Sorry. I thought it was the same one again. I thought, sorry, my apologies. No. I thought it was too. No worries. No, that's good. One of us has got to know what we're doing. Moved by Councillor Parlett, seconded by Councillor Montgomery. Thank you. All those in favour that we note the report. Thank you again, councillors. Thank you. Next. 196. Next, we move on to the infrastructure services report. The council notes information on the infrastructure works completed as of April 2026 and the plan works for... Sorry?
10.6, IPNR report.
Oh, you want to slip the late report in now? Sorry? Yep. Okay, so we've got a late report on the IPNR, councillors. Do I have a move in a sector we accept the late report? moved by Councillor Rolls, seconded by Councillor Gorman. Thank you very much. I'll have to read it off there because I haven't got that updated in mind. So we've got it there. Thank you very much. I will get on. So recommendation is council endorses the attached draft long-term financial plan 2026-27 to 2035-36 to be placed on public exhibition for a period of 28 days. Two, then council is to receive a further report in relation to the long-term draft financial plan 2026-27 to 2035-36 following conclusion of the public exhibition period at our next council meeting. Thank you, councillors. We've got to move in a second, haven't we? Yes? No? Not yet. I'm getting ahead of myself. Sorry, that was for the late report. Moved by Councillor Gorman. Thank you. And seconded by Councillor Rolls. Thank you very much. I will ask the General Manager is going to speak on this long-term financial plan. Thank you very much, General Manager.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. So the LTFP is a requirement under integrated planning and reporting, covers a 10-year period. It builds off the budget that we've just reviewed in the operational plan. It's under current market circumstances quite difficult to forecast the budget for 12 months, let alone for 10 years. So there's a lot of assumptions made around creating these models. If you go to page 199, a couple of key statements that are in there I'll point you to. First of those is Council's current financial position is not strong, which we previously discussed. Council should be maintaining sufficient funds for reserves, including asset renewal reserves. Down the bottom of that page, councils have to make extremely hard decisions in relation to asset and service provision to remain financially sustainable. Just going over the page to page 200, it's got a statement there about the LTFP showing an actual operating deficit in 24-25 of 8.9 million, and by the 2035-36 year, there's a projected deficit of 9.7 million. That's based on scenario 1, which is the business as usual situation, and the assumptions for that LTFP scenario listed there. We then go to scenario 2, which is the conservative scenario. That's about the rate peg reducing to 2.5% from the 27-28 year through to 35-36. It's also about operational grant indexation reducing past 2031. Scenario 3 is the optimistic asset renewal ratio. So that's putting aside, I think it was about $1 million a year. Yeah, if you go to page 201. After the 2028 year, an additional $1 million invested each year until 2036. The result of that is a impact on our cash funds of doing that expenditure. And obviously it's a bottom line impact because we're borrowing, so therefore there's interest expense associated with that. We don't at this stage have the data to do the modelling as far as the impact on key financial indicators like the asset maintenance ratio, the backlog ratio and the renewal ratio. One of the goals for 26-27 is to develop a roads-related infrastructure asset management plan. Once we have that data, we'll be able to model those impacts on those key financial indicators in future long-term financial plans. As the attachment to the report has got the various scenarios on a consolidated fund basis. With each of those scenarios, as you're required to do under the IPNR framework, we've got the 3 primary financial statements, which is the income statement, the statement of financial position or balance sheet, and the statement of cash flows. Take any questions?
Councillor Roll?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. No scenario for the mention of an SRV.
Mr. Mayor, thank you, Councillor Rolls. No suggestion of a scenario with SRV that was posed to me. I am not comfortable putting up an SRV scenario until we have the asset data from the asset management plan to support what a realistic percentage of the SRV should be.
No need to forewarn ratepayers that it is something that may be considered in the future once adequate data and information is available?
Through you, Mr Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Rolls. I believe we've had that discussion several times at the meeting tonight, that is a pathway to financial sustainability.
Within this, I mean.
Once we have the asset management plan data available in the 26-27 year, when we prepare the 27-28 LTFP, that will be one of the scenarios.
Because previously, on a previous long-term financial plan, it was included, but you obviously reviewed that and felt that that's under your general manager role that's not prudent to include that.
Correct. We need to have an evidence-based argument, and the evidence-based argument is having the road-related infrastructure asset management plan to back up what the gap is.
So basically, instead of plucking a figure out, you're saying we're plucking a 10% or 5% or whatever, it's having the data to back it up to say this is what we need, this is what's required to make that good decision. Correct. Which is, yeah. Thank you very much. Yep. Any other questions, councillors? Because I was surprised that we were doing this again. I thought you might have put it off again for.
I can talk to that.
Yep.
It's under the integrated planning and reporting framework. It's a requirement to review your long-term financial plan and update it annually.
Annually. Okay.
Correct. You set at the beginning of your 4-year term. You set all the IPNR documents, your Community Strategic Planning Delivery Program, and that's when you do a complete overhaul of your long-term financial plan. But under the IPNR framework, you are required annually to both review it and update it.
Through you, Mr Mayor, is that through the premise that you're getting more recent data to make the projections more accurate?
Correct, and changes that happen during the year. You've got new grants coming in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Service changes.
Instead of leaving it 4 or 5 years, you've got outdated data to...
Correct.
Yeah.
I suppose I've probably seen incremental changes where this is a complete rework of it in some ways.
I can't comment on previous.
I know, yes.
The data that's been included in here is to address the requirements of the integrated planning and reporting framework.
Yeah. Councillor Rolls?
Just want to circle back to scenario 3, optimistic asset renewal. The investment in the asset management plan, which we don't have and understand that we desperately need. So that initial investment, that's probably an understandable, realistic figure. But the additional 1 million investment each year, would that be on top of, like for argument's sake, the budget we've just reviewed? So the $10 million deficit we're facing. Just to work those numbers out.
Those are future years, and those are notional amounts that are put into the LTFP. Until we have that asset management plan, we won't have more reliable estimates to place in there. And at that point, as mentioned previously, we'll have the key financial indicators being the asset maintenance ratio, the infrastructure backlog ratio, and the asset renewal ratio to be able to model the impacts under each of those scenarios on those ratios.
Very good. Thank you. Thanks to the staff, everyone putting this together too. Same thing on a time when there's lots of work going on. To actually do a complete review of this is a lot of work. So thank you. Any other comments, councillors, regarding it? Councillor,
just out of through you, Mr Mayor. Just out of curiosity, our liability for the pool is $1.2 million.
Yep.
There's two figures there. The liability, the aquatic centre, and the aquatic centre. There's two lots of liabilities. Is that correct?
Yeah, there's two separate lines.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So, for argument's sake, if we have the cash reserve to pay both of them out, would we not save a significant amount of interest paid over that 20-year period?
A lot of times you break the loan, actually have a
break costs.
Break costs. So when you take such
just out of curiosity,
we often review it. I know that staff often reviews that and looks at it because at some point your break cost will be less than what your actual interest
Yeah,
cost
no,
is.
no, it's just.
So it does eventually get there, but it might be a few years down the track. So,
Right, yep.
yes.
No.
Councillor Gorman?
As well, Councillor Macon, through the Mayor, isn't it a preferred policy to, when you invest in large infrastructure and have significant loans to repay, that you make them intergenerational so that we don't cop it all, but the children, the grandchildren, etc., of the future carry their own load?
Yeah, exactly. And the idea of the loan is, I can speak to, I suppose, the general manager might, but it's the same thing. Is if you spend your savings, you spent the people previously. Whereas you take the loan out, the people that are getting the benefit out of that facility, the brand new facility, are then putting a larger proportion towards the upkeep and that loan repayment. That's how things. If I'm correct.
And through you, Mr. Mayor.
With the census data, census this year happening, when that is released, does that feed back into the data that we collect about population growth and all that sort of stuff, feed into the long-term financial plan as well?
Yeah. Because we've only made if you read them, they've only made a small increase in population in it, so the exact figures will come out after the census. Yeah. And use that data.
Yeah. Because I thought the projected population was interesting.
Yeah. Well, it's the first time it's been projected as being increasing. There for a while, we were. We kept saying we're going to decrease in population, and we kept arguing that's not really happening.
Yeah.
Right, thank you very much. Any other questions, councillors, regarding this one? No. I don't. I shall put that one. If there's no more comments on that, put that one. Those recommendations there that we. Endorse the attached draft long-term financial plan from 2026-27, I'll read it again, to 2035-36 to be placed on public exhibition for a period of 28 days. And if we receive another further report regarding the long-term plan following conclusion of the public exhibition period, and we'll deal with that at the next council meeting. So we're only really voting to put it on display at the moment. So we've got the move and a seconder. All those in favour of that recommendation, councillors? Thank you. All those against, councillors, Councillor Rolls and Councillor White. Thank you very much. Next we move on to 11. Now I've got back to 11. Infrastructure Services Report. We have a recommendation that Council notes the information provided on the infrastructure works completed in April 2026 for the planned works for May 2026. A move in a second, councillors. Moved by Councillor Montgomery. Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Parlett. Thank you. I'll ask the Director if he wants to speak on any of these matters.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through Mr. Mayor, I'm happy to take the report as read.
Yep. Okay. Any comments, councillors, any of those works report? No. I'll comment that I'm certainly happy to see the end of our flood packages at some point. I'd just like to see them finished up. They've been going on for quite a while. But it's not stuff. It is what it is. It took us that long to get them all organised, but it'd just be nice to see them completed in the works.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Sorry, just before. I can't remember if it was in the resolution register, but the bus stop down at the railway station.
It was? I just didn't see it. Okay, cool. No, that's fine. I can go back.
Yep. Yes, thank you. I suppose the only question, I suppose I'll ask the question of the Director. I don't know if you see the heavy patching work we did at the intersection with the new deep lift. Mm-hmm. Seems to be a great job. So it's all finished. I hope it's something. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I think it's worked out quite well. It was good news. We had a contractor that we hadn't used before for that job, and it's very good. And I think that's the most appropriate solution to put in a place like that too.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I suppose now it's just a matter of seeing the longevity of it, how well it lasts on a really hot summer's day when the trucks are doing the screwing on that intersection. But it looks really, really good. Taking a lot of that roughness out of it, it's letting it right out, and it's really accessible every way now. So that's all.
Thank you.
I did make it. I asked last time about putting in the herbicide chemicals as well.
So we've put in let's go back to that. Yeah, we did be put into with a bit more clarity just to give out what the a more holistic figure and the global figures of chemical use were across the organisation.
Yeah, page 206.
Yeah, I had it there before.
Yeah.
I think we're up to it was 360 to 400 litres.
Yeah.
Mainly glyphosate. Yeah.
So it just gives you a better, more idea. Like I said, we're only seeing those 5 litres and 6 litres. And you go, gee, there's not a lot of work going on if they're only spraying that. But you said that's the only amount that's allocated to biosecurity. This is general spraying and general
across. So it probably does give a better picture of what we're doing across the Shire with all of our roads functions as well as biosecurity.
Yeah.
Parks and open space.
So, through you, Mr. Mayor, the map that has the dots on it where the spraying points are, that's just biosecurity spraying on the map?
That's correct, Councillor.
Yeah. Very good. Probably that other next page probably needs to be removed. It keeps popping back up again. I don't think there's any relevance of it anymore. With the Main Street update one.
I think that's a requirement.
The CCTV part's been updated.
Oh, is it? Okay, right. No worries, thank you very much. So there's no more questions on any of the works reports? No? Okay, thank you, councillors. I'll put that one to the vote. All those in favour of we note that report. Thank you, councillors. Thank you. All those against? Thank you, councillors. We'll note, you obviously noted that Councillor Rolls left the room. Yeah, thank you. Next we move on. Okay. Yep. Environmental Services Report. Council notes the report on the development applications, construction certificates and complying development applications during the period of 1st of April 2026 to the 30th of April 2026. We have a mover and a second. We accept that report. Thank you, Councillor Montgomery, and second by Councillor Neal. Thank you very much. I don't know whether the Director want to speak on this. There hasn't been a lot of movement in that one. There's only a couple of applications there. So as you can field, Director can field any questions on those, councillors. Anyone's got any questions on any of those? No? No? Happy with those? I'll ask we put that report be noted to the vote. All those in favour, please. Thank you. All those against? Thank you, councillors. 12.2, we have the Grenfell Aquatic Centre and the Quandale Swimming Pool attendance and seasonal report. The recommendation, the council notes the information provided in the report on the attendance figures, seasonal reports for the Grenfell Aquatic Centre and the Quandale Swimming Pool. It's only for information, this report, so we have a move and a seconder. Moved by Councillor White, thank you, and seconded by Councillor Macon, thank you. Some good figures in there. I didn't know whether the Director wanted to do a quick, short speak on this one, I think.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this is the January, February, March figures, so probably the main, obviously, months during summer. So quite a lot of attendance at the Grenfell swimming pool. It also has the season report with the total attendance through the facility, the average daily figure. Obviously, school usage and other usage is also in there. So in terms of other usage, we've got in there about aqua classes, swimming club, and training. So there. Overall, we've had no reportable incidents at the pool during the year. So that's sort of a credit to the staff and obviously the patrons down there. We sort of hold regular squad checks. So there's a number of there's a couple of third-party providers which go through a process of sort of insurance and getting approval to use and run classes and things down there as well. So some of our local swimmers made it through to the state championships, which is probably worth noting as well, including Penny Hughes. So she went to the national championships this year. So for a small rural shire, that's pretty impressive. Crackable School Relay also, I think they come, on second in Sydney, I think, from memory. So we've also had a lot of the schools run their swim safe programs. So there's a lot of community benefit that goes into that facility or comes out of that facility around teaching kids how to swim. So and luckily enough, I mean, a lot of our staff are able to sort of put their hand up and they've got the swim training qualifications as well. The figures are there also for Quandialla, so for January, February and March. Again, no reportable incidents. There's also the season report, just with the total figures for the pool. Again, there's a local providing swimming lessons out there as well, so which has been quite popular. So just another benefit out there. All in all, another generally successful season. So I suppose I just wanted to make mention of the staff, in particular, obviously our aquatic centre manager, so Leanne Logan. So she does a mountain of work down there, obviously, to try and run and manage 2 swimming pools. So full credit should go to her. But also we have a lot of lifeguards, so a lot of school kids that are still at school, a few that have got coming home from university. So we've got a steady stream of those coming through. So Leanne does a great job training all those up, and yeah, obviously the new ones that come in do a great job during the year to keep the place running.
Yeah, very good. Not bad attendances for a little community, about 27,000 attendances between the 2 facilities. So pretty well utilised in both Quandialla and Grenfell. Any comments, questions regarding that?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So you see the total attendance and cash attendance and season ticket attendance. How are the figures for the season ticket attendance generated? Do they scan, because I don't personally hold a season ticket, but do they scan as they walk in, or is it?
So the staff generally know, because I'm a local who's got a season ticket. So if they're walking through, we'll keep a daily run sheet of who's going in. So that's where the overall figures come from. A lot of people that are using it regularly have got season tickets. If they haven't got a season ticket, the staff generally know that they need to charge them as they walk through the gate.
So it's sort of more of just a ballpark.
They do. I think we have got a little season ticket that we actually provide to families if they actually purchase one, or families or an individual person. So yeah, they can produce that in the parks. But yeah, most of the time, as I said, if they're reading one, they know they've done that.
I'm just trying, because they're so precise figures, how they tracking it.
So the staff will.
Not saying it's wrong. Just
the staff will keep accurate figures for each day.
Yep.
And then they come through as a weekly sheet, come up, and then we sort of collate those.
Yeah. Yeah, very good. Thank you very much. No more questions on that one, councillors. I'll put those recommendations. We note that report for the figures for the seasonal reports for the Aquatic Centre in Grenfell and Quandialla. All those in favour, councillors? Thank you. All those against? Thank you, councillors. Thank you, the Director, for that report as well. Next we move on to 13, Delegates Report, which we have nil of. Next we move on to 14, which is the minutes of the committee meetings. So we actually have the minutes from the Henry Lawson Festival of Arts Committee meeting on the 11th of March 2026. We have the Henry Lawson Festival of Arts Committee meetings on the April the 8th, 2026, as well as the minutes from the Henry Lawson Festival meeting on the 6th of May 2026. I'll ask that the recommendation is we adopt those minutes. We have a move and a second, councillors. Moved by Councillor Parlett, second by Councillor White. Thank you. There's not much, as they're not our minutes and we're only actually adopting them. I'll just put that one to the vote. All those in favour of adopting those minutes, councillors? Thank you. All those against? No issues there. Thank you very much, councillors. Next we move on to closed council. We have no closed councils that I've missed. No closed councils tonight. So in that case we won't move into closed council. At this point we'll close the meeting. Thank you very much, councillors. Thank you for your attendance tonight. Thank you for giving me a bit of leeway with the budget to have a look at those things. I think it's important. Like I said, it's something we need to do, and we need to look hard at our budget. We need to constantly review it and look through it. That's what QBRS are for. And I'm glad the general manager's spent a fair bit of time on it as well. With me, he's gone through a lot of work as well, done a lot of work on it with the staff. Thank you to the staff for stepping up and doing it as well. They've done a great job. Like I said, we haven't got anyone in the role. Now, thankfully, we've got John coming in to give us a bit of help in the meantime while we fill that role of the Director of Corporate Services, which is really good. So thank you very much to all the staff that have stepped up to that role and done all those reports. It's very, very good. Thank you very much. Thank you. That's the case. I'll move in a second. We close the meeting. Moved by Councillor Macon, seconded by Councillor Montgomery. Thank you. All those in favour, the meeting is closed. Thank you very much, councillors. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, staff. That's all for all your hard work.